Hello, hello. We're live on Fun Frolicking Friday.
Hello. I am so excited. We have a new guest, potentially two new guests on the show today. If you don't know already, I am Candace Karezza. And as you can see, we have Gaia here, and we will have another person flying in at some point.
Yeah.
Today, we are discussing something that is very near and dear to my heart, as I have many personal and professional relation points to it. And that is talking about the benefits of Tantra and sacred sexuality for the differently abled persons, for people who identify as differently abled, having mental health challenges, or neurodivergence and on the spectrum. And anywhere in between, and the reality of different life experiences that can feel debilitating or can push us into being very vulnerable, which has brought me to this idea of people that are differently abled are naturally vulnerability vixens, because pleasure and orgasmic living happens in the most vulnerable states. So I'm excited to talk about this. We have an event on Sunday on Clubhouse, a 90-minute guided experience. Throughout the whole week, we've been opening rooms. Each week, we pick a new topic. Stay tuned to the end. We have our topic for next week. We have a practice in store for you at halftime of the show today. And definitely check out our social media pages to see the link pages for the various things going on. With that, Karezza, tell us what brings you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Karezza from the Intimate Playground. I help singles and couples bring more orgasmic living and expansion and evolution into their sexual, intimate, everyday lives through play. So I'm really excited to be here and to give a little insight into how I have dealt with mental challenges, and in my own family, how sacred or conscious tantric sexuality can have a positive effect on those on the spectrum of autism. And with that, I'd like to introduce Gaia.
Hello. My name is Gaia Venus. I'm a shaman and intuitive guide, and my company, my life's work is Gaia Venus Healing Arts, where I teach millennials how to reconnect to their inner child so that they can be better adults, because that's the crisis that I had. I'm really excited to be here with you all today. I don't get to talk about sacred sexuality a lot with my clients, but I'm really glad to have the chance to do it with you all. That way it can open up the conversation, because there's definitely a link.
Oh my God. My whole body is in chills right now. I feel the need, all right, I have to say it now before I forget, and I wasn't going to share, but our theme for next week is so in alignment with what you do. So, but we're going to save that for a little bit.
Candace, Carly is here.
Yay! Is it Coach Carly? Is that how we shall address you?
Yeah. So I should bring her up, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so we gathered other voices on this topic as we've been opening up rooms on Clubhouse and talking about this for the entire week. And I'm just so delighted to have other people that want to talk about this and are also helping the world and expanding their capacity to enjoy their lives. So, Coach
Carly Grace, yay!
Yay, Coach Carly. I have to shut my window. You want to introduce yourself? Tell us.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Coach Carly Grace from Carly Grace Coaching. I am a spiritual guide and intuitive who supports empaths, light workers, and HSPs to flow with life with grace and ease. So because most high sensitive people are just very they're dealing with so much information overload, I help them to shift from being pain sensitive to pleasure sensitive. So I love being here today talking about sacred sex because, you know, in my work, you know, I help them to find their sacred no and their sacred yeses. Because so often when when you're so sensitive in the world, the level of intelligence that our families and our communities and especially leadership and layers of authority, they're just not that aware that we're processing so much, and then we're just so sensitive and just we give ourselves completely to everyone. And so sometimes what happens with that is that you don't have boundaries. And so how do you feel great being the love of, you know, what I call the unconditional boundless love and light in the world, but have your sacred no and have your sacred yes and feel great in your body? Because, you know, for most of us, you know, our body is our intelligence. It tells us, you know, when something feels good and when something doesn't. And so when we talk about sacred sexuality as well as the sacred yes and sacred no's, we're really learning about what it feels good to be good in our body. How can we feel good in our body as we experience the world, as we experience a relationship, whether that's intimate or platonic? And so I do, you know, inner child work, shadow work. I really weave, you know, mythology and psychology and neuroscience and all the different modalities of the world to create a unified language. So that way my clients feel safe to be seen, to be held, to be witnessed, and for them to experience and bring all of who they are. Because so often they're amputating themselves to be a part of a relationship or part of a dynamic or group or work. And so sacred sexuality is such an important part of the work. And not all clients are willing to go there. So which is why I'm also here with like Shaman Gaia Venus, you know, is that I think it's such an important conversation to have. And I'm also neurodiverse. You know, I've had my own experience of like complex trauma and knowing that pleasure happens at your vulnerability. And so it's like, you know, how do you discern, you know, what relationships are worth your energy and your time, and most importantly, your vulnerability? Because, you know, we, especially highly sensitive empaths and HSPs, have the ability to absorb their portals for energy. And so if they're engaging in relationships or sexual encounters with people that are carrying all this negativity, then we end up having to do that work all over again. And so, you know, I really support my clients to walk as the living temple. To walk as a living temple, to purify our channels so that way we receive source message and embody that, but to engage in sexuality in a way as a spiritual practice as well.
I'm so glad you made it. So glad you made it. And you know, there's a word you used, and the way you used it really stuck out to me. People amputate themselves. And when we talk about different abilities, you know, I'm newly blind. I've recently had experience being with someone who was paralyzed from below the nipples down. But that is a reality of like something that happens in the human experience where we disassociate, we amputate, we disconnect. And these different abilities often can create a disconnect. And what I feel like the reality is, like you said, I feel like there's a big relationship between HSPs and people with different abilities and being super sensitive and vulnerable. And the sweet spot of that and pleasure, but weaving it together. So Tantra can be translated to mean to weave. And so there's tantric thoughts or ways of being and living, like I live a tantric life. And then there's like tantric practices. And to me, everything is Tantra. And what we're going to do on Sunday and at halftime here today, and the intention of this conversation, is to give people the tools that they need to weave all those parts of them back together, to learn how to weave with the rest of life, to enjoy every aspect of their body, including their sexuality. And I feel like I have to share, and just a little trigger warning. People with different abilities, like where she just spoken to, sometimes don't have their voice. And some people that are born with different abilities are treated like children their entire life.
Yeah.
But other people see their sexual energy because they are sexual, and they get taken advantage of because nobody talked to them, nobody told them, and they don't get touched. So yeah, I was just so grateful for this conversation and you guys being here. And please do, people out there, like and share this video and the event with others that could benefit from this. If you're watching this from YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're watching this from, we'd love to hear from you. What's coming up for you? What's alive for you? Do you have any questions? If you type it in there, we will see it, and or you can reach out privately afterwards. So yeah.
And Candace, if I may, you speak to something so important of having our voice. And we just met Karezza and Candace, but so I specifically launched a club called The Space to Speak Up, right? Because of that very thing, is that many people, even those who are not differently abled or have the privilege of being closer to the normal, right, to the mean. So that means that society has been tailored more acutely to the way that they process, to the way that they engage in the world, and the way that they understand it. And so when you look at the outside of that bell curve, right, you look at the people that are on this side or on that side, and especially when you talk to people that are just processing so much information, it doesn't feel safe to talk, right? Because it's the voice that we carry within is by nature counter average, counter the normal, right? And so as we expand the capacity to hear the other, that increase our perspectives of what is reality, and especially as we explore sensuality, right? Sensuality, I mean, I talk about having cosmic orgasms, right? And so and that's from a conscious level, because I'm a sapiosexual. So I find intelligence and consciousness very sexual to me. And so for me, right? Yeah. My subtle bodies have to be fully in alignment and engaged in that partnerhood in order for me to have the safety that I need to fully express myself, because that's when I'm fully seen and fully heard. And I know that that other person is showing up fully with me. And so as we explore our voice, learning who we are in a safe environment is first learning that we are safe with ourselves, right? We're not going to judge ourselves. We're not going to criticize ourselves. And we're going to allow us to explore the infinite possibilities of who we are.
Mm. Yeah. Gaia, Karezza.
I was just thinking, marinating in all what you've been saying, Carly Grace and Candace as well. And this came up for me. We have, Carly Grace, when you said people that are deviating or from the mean, right? We have people who are either, people put them on pedestals, like people like shamans or spiritual leaders or people who are coaches. And then we have people who get put below and say, like you said, Candace, treated like a child their whole life. Like, okay, yeah, you're not really you're not here with me in my personal experience, and I can't relate to you. So I'm just going to decide how you are and how you should interact with the world because that makes me comfortable. I think it's so interesting because throughout all of that, the people at the mean, people who've been put on the pedestal, and people who have been, for lack of a better phrase, discarded or discounted by society, there's this sense of exploration and play and being vulnerable that people who are in the mean are like, we're not going to do that. But the people who live on the edges of that, that's where we live. We live in the, I'm going to have this experience. So that's what just came up for me. And I'm glad that you said that, because that just, again, that was a cosmic orgasm in and of itself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to also say that, you know, those who are on the neurodivergent spectrum, that, and anyone with, that's differently abled, that we see them as equals and not below us, and as gifts to the world. And not even that each one of us offers something to the world that may open one of us up, like, just because you're born with autism or blind or in a wheelchair, or become it down the line when in your life, that things do happen for reasons, and that when we look at someone, we can really look at them as a human being beyond their incapacities, and into the soul, and into the lives, and really into the world of who they are, and not the external. And because it's so difficult, even as a normal being, today, in today's world, to see beyond the physical, beyond the external. And when you add that disability, that external or mental incapacities and challenges, it's even harder to even engage with people, because people are scared, or they're just turned off in a way, or they just don't know how to relate, or they don't know, they've never been in front of someone that has a disability.
And just to give a little example to pull all this together. So when I think of my experience recently with someone who was paralyzed from below the nipples down, using sacred sexuality and tantric practices, we were able to get him to regain access to his want, to his pleasure, to his orgasm in ways he hasn't felt in over 20 years. And I've had many people on the spectrum that have found the safety, or people that are highly sensitive, or, like we were saying, people that are differently abled are vulnerability vixens. And, in tantric practices, in conscious, sensual, and sexuality, it creates a layer of safety for them to be able to relate. Like, I have one friend who's amazing, a brilliant human. What he says is, like, when it comes to socializing, he's like a bull in a china shop, And then when it comes to sexuality and sensuality, I had a client that came to me that was on the spectrum and never had any sexual interaction, but had desires, was, starting to think and want, but they couldn't experience any touch. And so they came to me to, like, really go deep. Like, so example, so you can go, so I have a flogger here, and a flogger can be used gently, or it can be used a little bit more intensely. And we use the sensations and tantra and breathing, weaving, like I weave together BDSM and tantra, especially when we're talking about helping our brain and our body get used to sensations, or using physical pain to navigate emotional disturbances. Like, it's all linked together. And play, this all involves play, and the different things I have, you can use something softer. And then this can be sensual. You can dance with it. Our sexuality doesn't always have to involve our actual genitals. But yes, we will be talking about that. And if people are curious about that, and it can be intertwined. Yeah. You guys are amazing. How do you guys, I'd love to hear, what are some of the ways you have found or seen people that are differently abled regain access to their sexuality or sensuality? Or, yeah.
There's this one practice that I absolutely adore, and I tell everybody about it, but it's practiced primarily with yourself, but it helps because this is something that I had an issue with, was when I'm being intimate with somebody, or not even in a sexual way, but just having a close conversation, or we're sitting close, like I'd have a problem looking at them, right? Like I'd have a problem keeping because it's like, this is too intense, I'm gonna close my eyes. And we spoke yesterday in Clubhouse about like, when things feel too good because of a trauma response, dissociating even though you don't want to. But this practice that I started, and that I recommended to several of my clients who are reconnecting with that and are differently abled, is get a mirror and look at your eye, like look past your eyes, like soul gaze with yourself. And practice, like, how are you going to look at other people, and how do you look at other people? Because you can be looking at somebody and like stare. Like when I did public speaking in high school, it was like, if you're nervous, stare at someone's forehead. You're not looking at them, you're staring.
Yeah.
And so taking this practice with the mirror, really training yourself how to bring your gaze to this more gentle place and really see, as opposed to looking. And then when you practice that with yourself, and when I practiced that with myself, it made me more comfortable to do that with other people. Because when I looked at my eyes, when I looked past my eyes into my soul, I saw not who everyone in society told me I should be, or the expectations that were put on me by other people, but I saw who I really was. And when I started doing that with other people, my partner of 10 years, I saw who they really were. And so then it was no longer, okay, this is what I expect of you. This is how you're supposed to be in our relationship. This is who you are. And this is who I see you as. And you don't have to put on this mask for me. We can be together. So that's one practice that a lot of people have been like, wow. I'm like, yeah, soul gaze with yourself.
Yeah. One of my teachers, he always said, like, when we're talking about eye gazing in any way, think windows, not headlights. And you could stretch yourself. Do it in a full-length mirror. Be naked. And have a conversation with your body, including your sex center. Get to know yourself.
Yeah, I love that. I practice like naked yoga, and that is so beautiful. Like when I wake up in the morning, and when I go shower, like I spend a minute like naked in front of the mirror, and I just admire my temple, because my legs that support me, my back that keeps me, allowing me to walk, just every single part of me that comes together to allow me to function and to be in this world. And when we're able to like really love all those aspects, or even like when I put the lotion on, I purposely slow down and just like really caress myself and like intend the nurture, the nutrients to really pour into all surfaces, all crevices of who I am, to nourish the skin, the soul, and that, I think, as we approach life sensually, right? As we approach life sensually, like whether you're drinking tea or putting on lotion or putting on your clothes, to just do it with a purpose of you know, channeling and connecting to that pleasure, and you start to really open yourself to the world of pleasure and to experiencing it from a place of like, you get to feel this good.
Candace, I have a question from one of the comments from Greg. His name is Greg Hill. He says, one of the issues that comes up for me as a visual impaired person is how to meet and date with the rest of humanity. There is the difficulty of dating apps not being well suited for the VIP. And the other aspect is how to help others feel comfortable with my differences through humor or otherwise. Any suggestions or thoughts?
Thank you, Greg. I know Greg. I'm really happy you're here. And, you know, as a newly blind person, I can definitely relate to you and the challenges with meeting people now. I'm still figuring, like, Clubhouse, like, honestly, has been, like, I'm, you know, not for, like, dating, but in general, like, meeting people, like, actually getting to know people. Clubhouse is very accessible for us visually impaired persons. You know, one of the things I was thinking, you know, with this practice we just shared for a vision impaired person, and this is something, you know, you can do with those that you're with, and to break up the, you know, weirdness. But yeah, doing it with yourself first, and letting your hands wander over your body. Like, because we take things in through our hands a lot as visually impaired persons, and really appreciate. And I would ask your partners if you could spend time getting to know them with your hands. And like, really, for me, I have definitely found, I mean, I've been, you know, in this community for over 10 years now. Knowing my needs and my boundaries, like, has just been so vital. Like, there was a time when I didn't know and I wasn't able to, like, so as a visually impaired person, you know, someone who's sighted sees a hand coming at them. I don't. It's all of a sudden on my body, and it can trigger trauma. So one of those, like, that's one of those baseline needs I didn't know. It took me several times of getting touched and triggered to realize, okay, I need to tell people, no matter what your intention is with touching me, you know, if I'm not the one that reached out to touch you and it wasn't verbally communicated, do not randomly put your hands on my body. It is very shocking to me. I will not see it coming. So things like that, I know for me, I'd love to hear if anybody else has any thoughts in response.
Candace, I don't have a lot of experience with the visually impaired community, but from an HSP point of view, I completely relate to that because it's the sensory overload, and when we slow down the connection and proximity to our energies, it allows our nervous system to start to acclimate to one another, and we can. So I like connecting the sensuality of connecting to each other's auric fields, and how that starts to allow the nervous system and the body, the psyche, and all the different aspects of who we are to start to relate to the other person. And so then that's the consent that starts to get initiated, because you can feel how the energy is shifting. And as I hear this conversation, I can't help but to be excited for the world, because these are such important conversations to be had, and to just like fully accept that that the way that you need to be in the world is exactly the right way to be. You know, there's nothing wrong. There's no like having to warn people. There's no need to carry any of the shame or guilt, but to simply love ourselves for how we're wired, how we're showing up in this beautiful vessel and experience. Yes, 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 yes.
I'm hugging myself, Greg.
Yeah, because I think it's just so beautiful, and I hear Greg, you know, and I think, you know, your ability to show up in relationship with someone else, and to teach them the magic of touch, the beauty of that language. We're all carrying this language that not everyone else knows, and we're starting to share that and experience that we're communicating on so many levels. And when we share, hey, you know what, this is how I communicate, or this is what works with my body, or this is what works with me, this is how I feel safe, or this is how I can show up, you know, to be my full vulnerable vixen sensual goddess, you know, God, and be magical. So I think that's so beautiful, and thank you.
Yeah, and Greg, I feel like that is a big reality, you know, as a sight impaired person, we are more sensitive, but that also like that means I feel like it's a superpower, like it's such a gift. One of the things that I've had many people tell me when relating to me, which makes it so some people can't relate to me, is I stretch them in their communication skills. Things that normally, like, yeah, I'm supposed to be able to see them like looking at me funny or whatever. No, you got to communicate that. So relating to me, people, like, I require a lot more communication. And I've had many partners say, you know, it's been a gift, like, especially as a teacher, you know, like you get really clear. Yes. So I think we are amazing.
Candace, it's about 1:30, so I don't know if you'd like to share.
Yeah, so, you know, I was trying to feel into what I wanted to do at halftime, as far as a practice goes. And you mean, obviously not everybody's going to have this. I shared about, I made a video and talked about what this is recently. You can see in my previous post. This is technically like packing tape for boxes, or like, but saran wrap on a roll. And we're talking about sensation play and exploration, bondage. And there's been a whole creation called bondage, can be very helpful in safe containers for releasing, for letting go. And what I did recently with the full moon is I have my moon mud, and I put it on my feet, and I wrapped my feet up. And so we're going to go on an imaginary journey. And you can either imagine that it's saran wrap we're working with, or whatever you want. If you want it to be a spider web that you're wrapping around you, something that really seals, something very sealant, okay? So close your eyes, go inside, take a moment to just feel your physical body, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. And imagine divine, whatever that looks like to you, angels, gods, guides, swirling around you, wrapping you up, creating this sacred womb. And as they do it, they're sprinkling in the most magical of magic dust and mud and mask and yummy oils. Feel your whole body encased, held, wrapped up tight. Lathered in love, magic. And just notice what it feels like for a moment. And start noticing if it gets uncomfortable. Imagine and feel also into those parts of you that don't feel magical, that don't feel lovable. Notice what's there. Now imagine that these magical beings come over and create a little tear in your womb. And you start to feel that opening, that breeze, that clearing. You take your hand and you start opening it up yourself. You can even take your own hands and imagine, feel you're unwrapping yourself, taking off everything that doesn't serve you, leaving all that love inside. In your mind's eye, I want you to see yourself open. Open your arms wide if you can. See yourself surrounded by love and light. Notice what you look like right now in your mind's eye. What do you see? And who is surrounding you? Wrapping your arms around yourself, giving yourself a sweet little hug. Inside your mind or aloud, say I love you and say your name. Kiss your shoulder. I love you, Candace. I love you, Candace. Slowly unwrap. Another big deep breath. Let it out and kind of just move around a little bit. And you can open your eyes. You slowly come back to the room. You may still feel the presence. For me, I still see all these beings around me and the magic, and I feel it. I'd love to hear of others how that was or what that felt like in your body. And what did you were you able to imagine being wrapped up? What were you wrapped up in? Who was there with you?
That was so magical and special. Thank you, Candace. One of the things that I thought about was backstory a little bit. So my partner and I actually met through being both involved in the BDSM community. And so I came, and we have this beautiful room in our house that's a meditation room / playroom. And one of his friends is does like aerial, like acrobatic stuff, and gifted us with a silk. And so that reminded me of getting that we hung from from one of our suspension bars. And so what that reminded me of was the times when I would get in there and just like wrap the silk around myself and feel how nice it was. It also reminded me of whenever I go on shamanic journeys into places for people and for myself, one of my guides always, before I do anything there, wraps itself around me. It's a cobra, wraps itself around me and gives me this beautiful squeeze. And then I'm like, okay, great. Now we can go and do the thing. So that was a beautiful reminder of some of the very special things in my life. So thank you.
Yeah, and that was completely just divinely intuited. It's so yay. I'm so happy to hear. How about Karezza and Coach Carly? I think I'm saying it right.
Yeah. I wrapped myself up in ivy from the earth, and felt I was out in nature, just surrounded by the energy of everything, of the animals, of the plants, of the universe, and just feeling protected. And then, yeah, as I unraveled myself, I really felt like I was letting everything go into nothingness and abundant, although I didn't have anything. So, yeah, very beautiful.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
I have to say too, Candace, because I was just, it was truly such a gift. I have to agree with everyone here. I actually picked this really warm fall in Chicago, and this is my big, like cashmere sweater that's just like super warm, and so I was wrapped up in a chrysalis of silk and of like Egyptian cotton, just to be super soft and just all my senses just were like amazing. And I was wrapped up into like this cosmic cocoon filled with super yummy, delicious material. And, something that is always prevalent for me is these cosmic rainbow showers, the galactic showers. So then the rainbow just starts to like, glisten, like glitter down, and just seep into all the little nooks and crannies and just fill up my entire body with light, rainbow light. And so I had the Elohim around me, just surrounding me and protecting me and just guiding me and just loving up on me. And when I came out of that, as I started to unravel and just take everything that no longer served me coming out of that cocoon, my wings were just so big. My wings are so big. And I can just see, I can just see how like the darkness just bowed in silence and just humbled itself before me. And as we shine our light. So I really got the message that as you stretch your galactic wings and you reflect and refract that light, stepping into who you truly are, letting go of all that doesn't serve you, that all that is lower frequency will simply bow down its head. And that's it. Like, it's not this fight, it's this pleasure. Yes.
Wow. Yeah, that's exactly what I saw too. It was like sparkly, right? Like I was right at the top. They were just ready to close the seal, and they're like throwing in all this sparkly magical dust. Like, wait, we got some more. Oh God, that was so delightful. Do we have any other comments from any of our viewers? Were any of you able to enjoy the experience? And if you're watching this later and not live, you could still comment. We'll get a notification, or feel free to reach out to us. Just quickly, Gaia and Coach, normally we create little banners with your links. So if people want to reach you, what is the best way to reach you?
Yeah.
So the best way to reach me is through my Instagram at Gaia, Giya, Venus, like the planet, Adams. That's the best way. I'll respond the fastest that way, while I wait for my website to come together.
Oh, thank you. And if you want, I think, Gaia, you could type it in the comments there, and it'll pop up, and it'll be in the feed. And same thing for you, Coach.
Yeah, so mine would be at Carly Grace Coaching, and that's the same for Instagram and Facebook. But Instagram is definitely the best way to reach me, and you'll always find me on Clubhouse. So yeah, so that's definitely the second best. Yeah, just so thank you so much, Candace and Karezza. This is so beautiful, and nice meeting you, Shaman Gaia.
Yeah, absolutely.
What time is it? I don't even know.
Quarter of what? 2.
Okay.
Quarter.
We still have about 15 minutes. I just wanted to make sure people knew where to find you. Feel free to type it into the comments. And yeah, we all met on Clubhouse. So if you guys aren't familiar with Clubhouse, it's pretty amazing. You get to meet awesome people like this and do awesome stuff like this. And yeah, I just can't vouch for it enough. It's pretty amazing. And between today and Sunday, we will be opening up more Clubhouse rooms, putting out more content around this very topic. And then on Sunday, 5 p.m. EST, we have a 90-minute guided experience for you. And drum roll, our our theme for next week is Tantra and Sacred Sexuality, or Conscious Sensuality for Families and Children. So Gaia, that's what I was thinking when you said working with the millennials. So I'm really excited for that. Yeah. Oh, my heart. Yeah. Are you guys going to be able to be there on Sunday?
What time is it?
5 p.m. EST.
Okay. Well, I'm going to do my best. I recently got invited to go to attend a refugee assistance, the word is escaping me, fundraiser. So I might be attending that. I don't know the schedule yet. But if I'm able to, I would love to be there.
Okay, cool. And I know that both of you said you have couple things you're working on. You have a live right now where you're going to be bringing a live. Are you open to sharing what you guys got going on in your world, what you're offering live?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Candace. I have my Live Your Secret Life Rhythm program that's starting October 18th. It's designed for 12 beautiful souls to journey into really stepping in boldly into their sacred yes and their sacred no. So shifting from pain to pleasure, and really honoring and honing in that internal voice so that we were living in integrity and authenticity and flowing with life with grace and ease.
Yay. Well, check that out. Check Coach out if you're interested in more. And Gaia, what you got going on?
Yes, so I am starting a workshop series. It'll be 5 different 2-hour workshops talking about ways that you can incorporate elements into shamanic practices and connecting with those elements through shamanic meditation so that you can recognize them when they come to you in your everyday life, and use those to navigate the world, navigate your day-to-day. That's my big thing, is practical tools to do every day, not just special, because I really believe that this word ritual and routine need a swap out. The ritual is not like, routine is like, okay, this is the rigid schedule, and ritual is more like, I'm not doing this just because I have to. I'm doing this because I'm using it as a way to care for myself or care for others. So we're it's a 5-series ritual. That the first one is going to be working with the element of water. So that right out the gate, water. And that will be on the 13th. There are more details that will be coming on my Instagram. I haven't started talking about it anywhere else yet, so you heard it here first. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to share it. I really appreciate that. And I'm glad I got to spend an hour with you all today.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
what are you gonna say, love?
I was just saying that's so awesome. I can't wait to support you. I look forward to connecting, Shaman Gaia. And this is my first live. I'll be going live at 3 p.m. Central as well on my Instagram. So that'll be my first official live on Instagram.
Well, you did your first live, like you had like a 5-some, you know what I mean? You're like live on like 5+ different pages right now. So
when the universe comes knocking, I just say yes, yes, yes.
Yes is a power word. If you can't figure out an affirmation, just chant yes, yes, yes.
And you know how better when we're talking about pleasure and tantric sexuality. So I love it. Yes to the universal cosmic orgasm of life.
Yes.
Yes to us. Yeah. So thank you, everyone. Please do join us on Sunday. Join my mailing list on my website, tantricpaths.com. We are giving a lot away for free, and we also appreciate any and all donations. You can see how you can make donations in the write-up here. We're also going to be starting to do some events on Zoom that will be like private paid events as well. So I'm really excited. You want to be on the mailing list so you can be linked in. And yeah, it's just, life is amazing, and I'm really happy and grateful you guys are here. And I don't feel like I have much else to say. And that was the other good thing about today and having you guys here. I'm on my moon, and I'm like kind of feeling what I would call blood brainy, you know. And so you guys really helped keep the flow not being so, you know.
I definitely feel that, Candace. I'm on the opposite end of that, and I'm in my ovulation. And so everything is just like a little too mystical. not a little too mystical, but everything's just like, wow, I feel like I'm experiencing, you know, a very just almost above a microdose.
Yeah, who dosed me? I was just gonna say that. Who dosed me? Oh, life. And we're all high on life right now. That's what you're seeing here. This life. All right, so I am complete. Any closing statements? We're probably right there.
Yeah, we're done. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any closing statements from anyone?
Well, I would just like to say thank you so much, Candace Marie Divinatory, and Karezza, the Intimate Playground Goddess, and Shaman Gaia Venus. I am so grateful for all that you are, for coming here today, to sharing your mystery, your magic, and your love, and making the world a much more sensual playground.
Yay.
Yes, and thank you all for being here, Candace and Carly Grace and Karezza. It was amazing to connect with you on Clubhouse, and now I have faces to put to your amazing voices, and my life is all the better for it.
Yeah. Thank you all, and to all those who stood and came up with their vulnerable selves and commented, and we were able to help them today. So I honor the space and all the vulnerability out there that helps change the world. So thank you.
Yay for being a vulnerability vixen.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay.
Happy weekends.
Happy weekend.
Whee!